And you spoke, and I spoke to a local author, Colleen, a good friend of yours.
We sure did. Absolutely. This was a great pleasure. Our friend Marc Whitt, who is the Director of Media and Strategic Relations for the University of Kentucky Office of Public Relations, and you can now add author to that title. He has a brand new book coming out June 1st. It is already getting some fantastic reviews. PR lessons learned along the way, strategies, tips, and advice for higher ed and nonprofit public relation professionals. Let's hear from Marc.
Let's do it.
Folks, welcome back to Madison County Live. We are thrilled to welcome our next guest, Marc Whitt. Marc, thank you for joining us this evening.
Oh, thank you all so much for having me on your show.
It is an absolute pleasure. Folks, Marc is the Director of Media and Strategic Relations for the University of Kentucky Office of Public Relations, and also an author of a brand new book soon to be released. When is it? June 1st,
June
right, Marc?
1st. That's right.
1st.
Circle the calendar. All of our calendars have a big red circle around June 1st date. So
I'm sure they are. And Marc, make sure I get this correct. Your new book, PR Lessons Learned Along the Way, Strategies, Tips, Advice for the Higher Ed and Nonprofit Public Relations Professional.
That's right.
Did I get it?
That's right. You got it. It's perfect.
Yay, Colleen.
This book, some have asked me if it's a memoir of sorts, and it's not. I mean, it's a very active book that takes in a lot of the lessons that I've learned throughout my career, the experiences, the opportunities, several things that I felt that as I was writing it, that perhaps particularly for young professionals as they are entering this field, maybe didn't get in a textbook, and not to take away from a textbook, because there are several excellent ones out there, but maybe some of those small points that could really make a major difference as they grow in the field. And then for the mid-career professional who is growing into an area of management for public relations, what are some things that they could learn or be reminded of or be encouraged? And then for the senior professional, someone like myself who has been in the work for a considerable number of years, you know, how do we keep ourselves fresh and relevant? Right. And so this book tries to cover the landscape of all that. So it's really, in essence, a book that I've tried to reach out to everyone, no matter where they are in their professional life.
So, Marc, this is kind of a, would you call it a PR Bible, maybe?
I don't know. I've had some people who've referred to it as a guidepost, guidelines, a toolbox of ideas. Perhaps a book of encouragement, challenge, and inspiration. So I've had a number of descriptions that have been given to me by those that I've had to read the early drafts of it. So
okay.
Marc, what inspired you? I know that you've dedicated your career to this for the past 35 years. What inspired you to write the book at this time?
That's a really good question, Colleen, and I appreciate you asking that. Actually goes back to a very dear friend of mine who unfortunately is no longer with us, Don McNay. Don and I attended Eastern Kentucky University together. Don had gone the journalism route, and I went the PR route, and we just were such good friends during those college years. And even though miles separated us when we left school, we seemed to always keep in touch with one another. And then after my family and I returned to Richmond almost 20 years ago, Don and I reestablished those relations. And perhaps many who are watching know that later in Don's life, he had he started a book publishing company that was based out of Lexington, and he had invited me to help do some book promotions for titles that his company was doing, in which it was a great opportunity to be able to work with Don in that capacity, as well as with his associate, Adam Turner, who now is the publisher of this book at Cherry Moon Media in Lexington. But anyway, Don had put in my head about 6 or 7 years ago the idea of doing a book. And at first I kind of chuckled about it, and he got about this close to my face. He goes, "I'm not kidding." And I said, "Okay." He goes, "No, you really need to do that, Mark. You need to think about that." And so little time, I would write a little bit here, write a little bit there, and so once I had the first few chapters pulled together, I shared them with Don, and he was very affirming for us to continue, and so when we had signed the deal for Don's publishing company to do this book, unfortunately Don unexpectedly passed away, and so to be honest with you, it kind of took the air out of my own tires to complete the project, and so I let it sit for about a year before I revisited that with Adam Turner, and Adam has just been such an affirming guy and cheerleader on the sideline, and so maybe for the past 3 years, wanting to get this project moving along and get it done, and I truly loved it. I mean, I really loved being able to write, look back, look ahead, bring out points that I think that people will enjoy reading, particularly those who are in this profession. And so we now have a book coming out. Right.
And I think you said this was about a 6 to 7 year project?
Took 6 years.
6 years, wow.
Yes. Yes, I know. In many ways, it feels like it was just yesterday that I started on it until I start reading this chapter as we're looking through the drafts and all, and making sure that everything is correct. And 6 years in some ways was a long time ago. In other ways, it was just yesterday. So
wow.
Yeah, it's taken a little while to get it finally to a place where we're ready to release it.
Well, Mark, it's just, I know the reviews are already coming in, and I know that you're a very humble man, but it's been amazing to read what folks are saying about this book already. Right. I know it's going to be available in 8 different countries, and you're already doing some press within those, so that's amazing. I also know that over the past 6 years, not only have you grown with this book, but your family has grown, and I know that becoming a grandfather throughout this journey, I'm sure has been amazing as well, because I know above everything else, you are a family man. And so I bet there were perhaps a few family anecdotes as well.
Oh, well, certainly so, and some of that does get into the book, but you're right, being a granddad of 2 sweet girls, Anna Lee and now Aubrey, who was born on New Year's Eve. I like to kid people. My daughter Emily and her husband Mark, they had Aubrey 2 hours before UK's kickoff down in Charlotte, and it was wonderful where the whole setup as the babies were being brought in. I know there are going to be some people say, "I cannot believe he's saying this," but they had these wonderful large screen TVs in the waiting room, and there were only like 2 or 3 of us who were in the waiting room, and so we had this wonderful long mirror or window with all the babies, and spent rightfully so a considerable amount of time just feeling so proud of this new delivery and life in our family. And then so when 12:30 hit and it was kickoff time, you know, boy, I mean, it was tremendous. Well, I made a mistake. I failed to remember where I was when just the last few seconds of the game, and it looked like the Cats were going to pull this one off. And I remember I let out a war whoop that I woke up every single child in that nursery.
No.
I mean, they're screaming, they're crying, and I'm well. I was embarrassed at the time. I got over it because I was pretty pumped about the game. But
Right.
the nurse came out and she patted me and she said, "That's okay. I wanted them to win." So,
That's great. That's great.
I love it. I love it. Well, Marc, thank you so very much for sharing your story, for giving us just a sneak peek of what we have to look forward to again for June 1st. PR lessons learned along the way, strategies, tips, and advice for higher ed and nonprofit public relations will be available where? Where will we be able to purchase this, Marc?
you can go to Amazon. It'll be available in both print as well as in Kindle formats. So, so come June 1st, want to see a large volume of sales from Richmond and Madison County. Help me out, guys.
Fantastic. Fantastic. I do have one question before Colleen closes us out. Can we have your utmost attention if Colleen ever gets us in trouble?
Wow. I don't know. I'll tell you, you always want, that's a good lesson in PR. Always be prepared.
It won't be me. It'll be Colleen.
Okay. I'm prepared for whatever.
Good.
He is probably prepared for that. Well, yes, Marc is best for that, so I would gladly appreciate that. Marc, thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations on
Thanks,
this new
guys.
book.
I appreciate this invitation. Thank you all so much. And,
Thanks.
you know, it's this book in many ways is a tribute to all those who've enabled me through my career.
Sure.
I'm a true believer that no one's a self-made person.
Sure.
We're all here because there were people along the way who sacrificed for us to be where we are today.
Right.
All right. Folks, we'll be right back.